Then we come to the Lingam.
Oh, okay.
It's rather amazing that a person who considers himself to be a scientist and a parapsychologist
Mm-hmm.
would take any heed whatever of the Lingam regurgitation, that's to say, the egg-shaped object which Sai Baba used to bring out, claiming that it was produced in his stomach, usually gold, and that the body contains all that gold, which is a complete fallacy, of course, it's been disproven. And why is it so incredible? Is because, of course, Houdini invented the trick,
Oh, wow.
and Houdini used an egg-shaped object about the size of the lingams that Sai Baba used to bring out, and he attached it to a string or a chain and practiced swallowing it and pulling it back out. And then eventually he managed to swallow it without the chain and regurgitate it.
Oh,
And it became a common trick of certain magicians round about the world, and particularly in India, where numerous fakirs do it. I've seen a film of a fakir on the street who's done it, taken by a German who I knew. And of course, Swami Premananda did it regularly on Shivaratri also, supposed to be heard. And I have a friend who was present and was allowed to see it. It wasn't everybody who was allowed to see it. It was a select few. This was a French friend of mine who became a Sai Baba devotee. Haraldsson had long since investigated Swami Premanand and found that he could not produce vibhuti from his hand under controlled scientific conditions. However, Haraldsson did not see the production of the lingam or have any opportunity to test that. Swami Premanand was convicted of double rape and double murder, died in prison. In 2000, a major worldwide sexual abuse scandal descended on Sathya Sai Baba, and he began to lose his following. He therefore reintroduced a miracle he had used to do in the 1960s and early 70s, whereby he produced what was called a golden lingam from his stomach, where it had formed by a holy process. This was performed once a year on Shivaratri night, and Erlendur Haraldsson went down to Lingam all the way just to see that for a couple of days each time, and was unable to see anything except on one occasion vaguely at a distance. Haraldsson told me that he was treated well, which of course I knew because being an author who has written about Sai Baba from outside the circle of devotees and presumed to be something of a scientist, he was an important person for them to keep in the dark and at the same time make him feel that he was welcome. So he got rooms and things which often are very difficult for anybody to do at the time of the year. When Haraldsson visited the ashram, I noted how careful people were around him now and again, what they said. And later on, when I got to know very many of the officials, and particularly Narasimhan, I learned that Haraldsson was treated as a VIP, and he was given a front seat and all the rest of it. And he was occasionally asked to interview, not often and usually short. And I was told by Narasimhan what Sai Baba said to him in the interview. And he said, you go out into this marketplace and get all this information, and it's all false. It's what you should be doing. You should be looking for your own reality. And
oh, of course.
Erlendur Haraldsson had no idea what Sai Baba was teaching. And he was asked to write an article for Sanatana Swarati one time, and he wanted to add something about, or also a book, about what Sai Baba's teaching was. So he asked me to make a summary of Sai Baba's teaching, which I did, and which he used, and he referred to me in his book. Of course, now he never uses my name. He completely avoids me. In some ways, he's a very standard Scandinavian professor of the type with whom I've worked and interviewed in my postgraduate research. Criminologists, sociologists, psychologists, a whole range of social science people in Oslo. And I can tell you that it was a poisoned chalice that I chose, because I found out that about 80% of the research work that was done in the period that I studied very systematically
Uh-huh.
led to absolutely nothing.
Oh, wow.
Except to some publications which then disappeared. And I had an assistant, and we figured out together that the purpose of these researches very largely was to get recognition so that you get a better position in the teaching world. About, as I say, 5, perhaps 10% of them produced work which was good, and a few of them produced work which had real influence on social policy and a really strong influence. It so happened that those people who taught me were some of the very best social researchers in Norway. So I have a good basis for judging Haraldsson's personality, and I can tell you he's a very straight-laced, what we call square person, devoid of any sense of humour, able to smile and charm a bit, but very much a standard sort of professor, academic, not really a scientist. You see, when you are a professor of psychology, you teach scientific method and how to test things under controlled conditions and that sort of thing. And when he came to Puttaparthi, he had this expertise, but he couldn't use it because he was denied by Sai Baba any chance to test him or have any form of scientific situation, controlled situation. Everything he's done there has been, what should we say, anecdotal evidence.
And it's towards the goal of him getting position and reputation more than anything else?
Well, no. I would say rather that he was very interested in parapsychological things from the start, that he wanted to believe in them. He did believe in them. Well, I believe in quite a number of parapsychological events because I've experienced them myself, through other people and even in myself.
Wow.
But not the sort of things which Sai Baba is claimed to be able to do. But he was a genuinely interested person. I think when he retired, he found that he had a possibility of doing something which would give him a name, because he was already involved in various parapsychological projects in connection with the University of Virginia. You probably know about them and all their machinations and so on. He's been there a lot. He visits them. He still visits there. And he has a sort of coterie of what he calls peers who give peer reviews of his things. But these peers, they're all sort of pseudoscientists. They're not real scientists. Some of them might be real scientists, but then they can only work on limited items, like, how many times can a person guess what a particular card is going to be and all that sort of thing. It is far away from understanding the sort of things which Sai Baba was doing, which were illusions, very, very largely. There were some paranormal events, definitely. I've experienced them. I've written a book, of course, in which I note down in great detail quite a number of the things which I observed. Those things I've come to understand that there are things of that nature, and people in India particularly seem to have those gifts. The 2004 Miracles, the BBC were present with a film team making The Secret Swami, which was later released worldwide. Sathya Sai Baba was unable to produce the lingam from his mouth and collapsed and had to be taken off stage. And later he came back and held forth a golden lingam, which it was claimed that he had produced